Okay, everyone, happy Friday. I am at 32,000 feet flying home. So I'm going to go here and I am going to give you your short lesson as I promised. Okay, so our learning intention for today, Friday, is to discover the author's point of view and how it affects storytelling so that we can understand the lessons the author is teaching. We will know we got it when we can identify anecdotes. Wonder what that is, and tell a lesson from an author from our Newsella article. So we're going to read an article. So I want you to think to yourself, how many stars am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? What is an anecdote? I've heard of anecdotes, but I don't really know what they are. Or 3 stars, I know what it is, but I might have trouble finding it in a text. And it's okay, even if you're a 1 or 2 star, because that's one of the things we're working on. I can identify anecdotes in the Newsella article and use them to help me identify the author's lessons and point of view. Or I can help others to become a 4 star. All right, so let's very quickly review. I want to read the last one of the fables. As I promised, I would read it. It's called The Horse and the Loaded Donkey, one of Aesop's fables. An idle horse and a donkey, laboring under a heavy burden, were traveling the road together. The donkey, ready to faint under his heavy load, entreated or begged the horse to assist him and lighten his burden by taking some of it under his back. The horse was ill-natured or crabby and refused to do it, upon which the poor donkey tumbled down in the midst of the highway and expired or died. Oh. The countryman then took the whole burden and laid it upon the horse, together with the skin of the dead donkey. Uh-oh. Laziness often prepares for a burden on its own back. Well, I think that right there is a really easy place to find where the moral of the story is. Laziness often gives us more troubles later, right? Think about this. Is the story long or is it short? Does it have animals in it? How is the story being told? So think about that, because as we come to writing our own fables, you're going to be writing something similar to this. So this is The Horse and the Loaded Donkey. This is on the slides that I will put down there underneath this video. So this is in the slides. I can't remember what slide number it is, but it's in there. You'll be able to see this picture and you can click this play button and listen to it. If I play it now, it won't play through on my video. Plus, I promise less than a half hour. Oops. Okay. So just a quick review: theme, main message, message in the text that teaches a lesson, central idea, what it's mostly about. And this is talking about the main idea. Places where you can find the main idea is the title, the topic sentence, or the final sentence of the paragraph, right? What is the story mostly about? And we're going to be thinking about that as we read our article today. So I want to tell you really briefly, what is an anecdote? There's 2 things that you can be thinking of. You can be thinking of an example or an anecdote. An example is up here in the top and an anecdote is down here. So be thinking about the difference. For example, well, I said that, right? We have all called someone the wrong name or said something awkward in front of our friends. We make embarrassing mistakes all the time. Some, however, are more embarrassing than others. Once when I was water skiing with a group of friends, I fell super hard. I swam over to the boat and began to climb up the ladder. Suddenly, I felt something dripping down my leg. I looked down and there was poop cascading down my leg. I must have pooped when I hit the water. All of my friends immediately started laughing and I was mortified. For example, sometimes we make embarrassing mistakes. An anecdote is a story that describes an embarrassing mistake that happened. These moments sneak up on you when you're not expecting them, and they can crush your spirit. However, know that you are not alone. Everyone has embarrassing moments. And here's the moral of the story, right? That's the lesson they're trying to teach. So I'm going to read this article. And this article is about telling stories. It's nonfiction because it's Newsella, News ELA. So this is a news story. Okay, it's called Storytelling and Cultural Traditions. These are little Hawaiian children. Okay, storytelling is a universal and is as ancient as humankind. Before there was writing, there was storytelling. It occurs in every culture and from every age. It exists and existed to entertain, inform, and promulgate cultural traditions and values. That's a big word. I wonder what that means. Oral storytelling is telling a story through voice and gestures. The oral tradition may take many forms, including epic poems, chants, rhymes, songs, and more. It can encompass myths, legends, fables, fables, that's what we're doing. We're going to be writing one, religion, prayers, proverbs, and instructions. Now, we don't have to know what all of this means, but it's basically just telling us storytelling is through all areas of our lives, and it's through speaking and gesturing, like movement. Here are some examples of storytelling as a method of passing down cultural traditions. This is the Choctaw storytelling. Like all Native American tribes, Navajo and Hopi is in Arizona, right? The Choctaw have oral storytelling traditions going back generations. That's like many, many years of the family, grandparents, great parents, great grandparents. Their stories were intended to preserve the tribe's history and educate their young. For example, there's an example in the story here. The Choctaw oral traditions include two creation stories. One relates to migration from the West and the other to creation from a mound. In addition, the storytelling tradition includes the history as well as life lessons or moral teachings, kind of like fables, huh? Many of the Choctaw traditional tales employ animal characters to teach such lessons in a humorous vein. Kind of like fables, very cool. Then there is native Hawaiian storytelling. The native Hawaiian word for story is mo'olelo, but it also can mean history, legend, tradition, and the like. It comes from two words, mo'o, meaning succession, and olelo, meaning language or speaking. Thus, a story is a succession of language. Since all stories were oral, being told out loud, Native Hawaiian stories include the tale of the first Hawaiian who was born from a taro root, which is a plant. It's got these big leaves and it's got like a giant potato looking thing that you dig up, and they grow it in very wet fields. Other stories tell of navigation across the seas. Native Hawaiian storytellers who knew history and genealogy were honored members of Hawaii. Hawaiian storytelling was not limited to words alone. It included talking, but also encompassed mele, song, oli, which is chant, and hula, which is dance. Hawaiians valued the stories because they were not only entertaining, but they also taught the next generation about behavior, values, and traditions. And I wrote this here, to live pono, which means to live with honor. Let me move this out of the way. Now we're moving on to West Africa. We've been all around the world. We've been in Arizona, we went to Hawaii, and now we're in Western Africa. The people of sub-Saharan Africa have strong storytelling traditions. In many parts of Africa, after dinner, the village congregates around the central fire to listen to a storyteller. As in other cultures, the role of the storyteller is to entertain and educate. A long part of Western African culture are the griots, or storytellers, troubadours, and counselors, and to kings. They perform the functions of storyteller, genealogist, historian, ambassador, and more. Some of the most famous stories from Western Africa are also those of the Anasazi, the trickster spider. The griots were traditionally hereditary, a profession for the office or job, passed from one generation to the next. That means if dad was one, then I'm going to be one, and my child will too. There were also griot schools where more formal training could be had. Both men and women can take up the profession. When women are called griotes, although women have a somewhat lesser status. And then we move on to the Jewish people. Oh my goodness. On the Passover, families of Jewish faith celebrate the exodus of the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt. The Passover celebration includes storytelling, a ritual known as the Seder or order. Through the course of a meal, the story of the Exodus is told, an oral tradition, a speaking tradition passed down through generations to educate the young. An important part of the ceremony is 4 questions asked by the youngest children present, which are the impetus for telling the story. So this is an example. If I was going to give an anecdote, I would tell a story of somebody's actual Seder dinner. Irish storytelling. The Sanchai were the traditional Irish keepers of the story. I don't know if I pronounced that right, and I even have Irish heritage. I should learn that. They would travel from village to village, reciting ancient lore or stories and tales of wisdom. They told myths as well as local news happenings. Prominent in the Irish oral tradition or spoken tradition are tales of kings and heroes. Today, storytelling and interest in storytelling appear to be making a comeback. As one Irish storyteller put it, it's a need for connection. I think storytellers nurtures connections with people. Oh, and that's the end. Okay. Oh, people in real life. There we go. I was like, where's the period? I remember it was 3 words on the next page. So I just wrote it down there. So this has 13 paragraphs. You can see I numbered them. This text looks a little bit different than the fables and the stories, doesn't it? Because it has some of the features of these stories is it has these headings, right? And it uses a lot of domain specific vocabulary, words that have to do with the subject it's talking about, right? Now, we didn't do a lot of discussion here about the difference between an anecdote and a story. I just kind of, or an anecdote and an example. We'll talk a little bit more about that in class, and I'll give you some examples in class on Tuesday. So it'll make it more clear, because I think it's not really clear in this particular story, which is which. So finishing it up, I just want to ask you guys, we're going to do one really quick quiz, see if you can answer this question. Which detail shows how gestures may be used in oral storytelling? Is it A, Hawaiian stories that include hula dances? Is it Anasazi is a popular trickster in African stories? Is that talking about making gestures or movements? C, native Hawaiian stories tell about the first Hawaiian? Is that talking about movement? Or, oh, D, I didn't change that to D. African villagers gather around a fire to hear stories. Is that talking about movement? So which one of these? Hula dancers, a popular trickster, stories about the first Hawaiian, or villagers gathering around a story to hear, they're gathering around a fire to hear a story. Which one is talking about gestures or movements? A, B, C, or D? Think about it for a second. All right, are you ready for the answer? Drum roll. And here it is. Hawaiian stories include hula dancers because they move and tell a story. And I can even share a video with you when we start class on Tuesday, because I happen to take classes in hula dancing. So it's kind of fun. All right. And now for the challenge. We are having a Kahoot challenge. I'm going to put this link in my email that I'm sending out. It's also going to be down there in our announcements. So you're going to click here. Please, when you join, put in your real first name so I know who's in there, so I know who attended class. Okay. You don't need to put your last name, but put your first name in there for sure. And then this Kahoot review game is reviewing things like main idea and theme and who the stories that we read about or what they're about. There's 10 questions. You can play the game. I think I'm going to say, I want you to use integrity so we can count on you. I don't want you to play it more than 2 times, okay? Because it has 100 plays. And so if all 40 people in the class play it 3 times, not everyone will get a chance. So just play it 2 times and we'll take a look at your highest score and we'll look at the podium on Tuesday. So how many times do you play this game? Because it only allows 100 plays. So we want to make sure everybody gets a chance. Okay. And we can even play it in the warm up on Tuesday in class. I'll open it up so it's not a challenge, but this one is a challenge. It's open through Monday. Play it 2 times to review the terms in Unit 1 because we are cool like that. Okay. So these slides and this link are going to be in the class announcements. So if you go into the OMS and you log on, I'm going to show you real quick. This is my log on. Don't go to schedule, go to classes. Purple class is ours. And the announcement isn't there yet because I am still making this video, but you will see the announcement here for Friday. It'll say Friday, September 3rd. Okay. And so it'll be right there with all the links, and I'll put the links to the alternate quizzes there if you want to take those. And this weekend, I'm going to go in and I'm going to update all the grades. So if you already took an alternate quiz and you were happy with it, you're fine. Okay, and I will update those grades as well today. So you guys have a great long weekend. You guys are total rock stars. I will see you later. Remember to play that Kahoot game twice and see what you can do with the vocabulary. Bye-bye.